the human body can survive a shocking amount of punishment. Gunshots, car crashes, falls from insane heights. We're built to take a beating and keep going. But every once in a while, someone finds a way to die that's so unbelievably stupid, so catastrophically avoidable, that you just can't help but just sit there and think, how? We're talking about a lawyer who killed himself trying to prove a window was unbreakable, a mime who choked to death while his audience applauded, and a Viking warlord who conquered kingdoms but got taken out by a dead man's tooth. Ladies and vipers, these are the dumbest ways people have actually died. Our first story takes us to one of Toronto's most prestigious law firms, on the 24th floor of the Toronto Dominion Center. And the man at the center of it is a 38-year-old lawyer named Gary Hoy. Now, Gary wasn't your typical boring lawyer. This guy was apparently the life of the office. Every year, when the firm brought in fresh batches of law students, Gary had a party trick he loved to break out. He'd walk up to one of the massive floor-to-ceiling windows, take a running start, and throw his entire body against the glass. The point? To prove the windows were unbreakable. And honestly, it worked every single time. The glass held. The students gasped. Gary bounced off like a human tennis ball, laughed, dusted himself off, and went back to billing hours. The man did this repeatedly over several years. It was his thing. Now, you're probably wondering where this goes wrong, because so far, Gary just sounds like a fun guy at parties. July 9th, 1993. A group of new articling students are touring the office. Gary spots his audience. He can't resist. He tells them about the windows, about how the glass is completely unbreakable. The students look skeptical. Perfect. Gary backs up, takes his running start, full speed, slams his body into the glass. The glass didn't break. He was right about that. But what Gary didn't account for was the window frame. The impact knocked the entire pane out of the wall, glass and all. And Gary Hoy, a man who had done this dozens of times before, went straight through the opening and fell 24 stories to the ground below. Yeah, he was right. The glass was unbreakable. The frame just wasn't Gary-proof. Now, if you think dying from your own party trick is embarrassing, hold on, because our next guy couldn't even ask for help. Picture this. A sunny afternoon somewhere in a busy city. People are walking around, shopping, living their lives. On the sidewalk, a mime is doing what mimes do. The invisible box, the pulling the rope bit, walking against the wind. You know, the whole routine. Entertaining stuff, right? Well, during a break between his little performances, this mime decided to grab a snack. He's eating a pickle. And before you even say it, yes, a pickle. I can't make this stuff up, ladies and vipers. Mid-bite, a chunk of that pickle lodged itself in his throat. His airway closes. He can't breathe. And now, here's where the universe decides to be absolutely cruel. Because this man's entire profession is pretending to be in distress without making a sound, he starts grabbing his throat. His eyes go wide. He's flailing his arms, reaching out to people, desperately trying to communicate that he is actually, genuinely dying. The crowd? They love it. People start applauding. Someone tosses a coin into his hat. A couple stop to take a photo. They think this is the best bit he's ever done. And the mime can't speak. That's the whole point of being a mime. He can't scream for help. He can't yell, "I'm choking." He just collapses in front of an audience that gives him a round of applause as he takes his final breath. Now, you're probably thinking that this is the most ironic death on this list. But ladies and vipers, hold on. Because our next one involves a man who was literally killed by someone who is already dead. Let's go back about 1,000 years. Meet Sigurd a Steinson, also known as Sigurd the Mighty. This man was the Earl of Orkney, a Viking warlord who conquered territories across northern Scotland. He commanded fleets. He won battles. This was not a man who died quietly in his sleep. Sigurd had a rival, a Scottish chieftain named Mael Brigti, who earned the nickname the Buck Tooth because, well, the man had some serious dental work going on. The two agreed to settle their dispute with a battle, each bringing 40 men. Sigurd bought 80, because apparently honor is optional when you're a Viking. Sigurd won easily, killed Mael Brigti, and because Vikings had a flair for the dramatic, he chopped off Mael Brigti's head and strapped it to his horse's saddle as a trophy, a flex, a power move. classic Viking behavior. But here's where the dead man gets his revenge. As Sigurd rode home with the severed head bouncing against his horn, one of male Brigt's big bucked teeth scraped against Sigurd's leg with each stride. Just a small scratch, nothing serious. Except the wound got infected. Badly. Within days, the infection spread throughout Sigurd's body, and Sigurd the Mighty, conqueror of Scotland, undefeated warlord, was killed by a dead man's tooth. Yeah, you heard me correctly. He won the fight, won the war, took the trophy, and the trophy killed him. If that doesn't prove the universe has a sense of humor, I don't know what does. And if you're enjoying these stories and want more of this content, hit subscribe. We put videos like this regularly, and trust me, they only get crazier from here. Alright, speaking of crazy, our next story is about a man who died because of a children's playground swing. And no, I'm not joking. It's a warm evening. A house party is in full swing. People are drinking, having a good time, being genuinely stupid in a way that only drunk adults can be. At some point, someone dares a guy, we'll call Fred, to squeeze himself into a children's swing at a nearby playground. Now, Fred is not a small man. He's a big dude, the kind of guy who takes up 2 seats on an airplane. But alcohol has a way of making terrible ideas sound like great ones. So Fred looks at this tiny plastic swing, looks at his friends, and says something along the lines of, "Bet." He wedges himself in. The swing creaks. His friends are dying laughing. Fred is stuck, like genuinely stuck. His hips are locked into this thing, and he cannot get out. Now here's where his friends make the critical error. Instead of helping him, they think it's the funniest thing they've ever seen. Someone takes a photo, someone else goes to get another beer, and eventually everyone just kind of goes home. They leave Fred in the swing, figuring he'll work himself out eventually. He doesn't. Hours pass. The compression of the swing against his midsection puts increasing pressure on his internal organs. His appendix, already under stress, ruptures. Alone in a children's playground, in the middle of the night, stuck in a swing built for a 6-year-old, Fred dies. $100 bet, that's what it cost him. All because no one thought to help the man out of a swing. But ladies and vipers, I've saved the wildest death for last, because this next one involves a chain of events so ridiculously unlikely that it sounds like it was written by a drunk screenwriter. And I promise you, it wasn't. Somewhere in the American wilderness, a survivalist is out doing survivalist things. He got his camping gear, he got his rifle propped up against a tree, and he's feeling good about life because he's one of those guys who thinks civilization is for suckers and woods are where real men belong. While he's going about his business, a rattlesnake slithers through his campsite. Now, under normal circumstances, this is where the rifle comes in handy. You see the snake, you grab the gun, problem solved. But our guy isn't paying attention. He doesn't even notice the snake. The rattlesnake, on the other hand, notices the rifle. And for reasons that only nature can explain, it coils itself around the weapon. Specifically, it wraps itself around the trigger guard. Now, you're probably thinking, there's no way. There is absolutely no way this goes where I think it's going. It does. The snake tightens, its body contracts around the trigger mechanism, and the rifle fires. The bullet strikes the survivalist directly in the chest. He collapses. The man who went into the wilderness to get away from danger was killed by a snake that shot him with his own gun. I want you to really sit with that for a second. A snake fired a gun and killed a man. That's not even a death, that's a cartoon. That is a Looney Tunes episode that somehow happened in real life. Now, ladies and vipers, every story I've told you so far ended badly, but this last one is different, because sometimes, against every odd imaginable, the universe decides to let someone live. It's 3 in the morning during Desert Storm. The flight deck of USS Theodore Roosevelt is chaos. Fighter jets launching around the clock. The crew has barely slept in days. Everyone on that deck is running on fumes and adrenaline. A 21-year-old Navy sailor named J.D. Bridges is doing his job, prepping an A-6 intruder for takeoff. He's supposed to be in a crouched position near the aircraft, but he's exhausted. His body is running on maybe 2 hours of sleep, and in one fateful moment of fatigue, he stands up just a little too straight. just a little too close to the jet's intake. The engine grabs him. In an instant, JD Bridges is sucked directly into the intake of a running jet engine. Now, under any normal circumstances, this is where the story ends. A human body versus a jet turbine is not a fair fight. That engine is designed to shred anything that enters it. But something miraculous happens. His helmet and safety goggles get ripped off his head and sucked into the engine first. These objects slam into the turbine blades and shatter them. The blades break apart and the engine stalls, flaming out before it can fully pull him through. On top of that, the cone inside the intake catches his body and prevents him from going any further in. For 3 minutes, the engine winds down while JD is wedged inside. When they finally pull him out, he's alive. Banged up, broken collarbone, some cuts and bruises, but alive. He walks off that flight deck on his own 2 feet. A man was sucked into a jet engine and lived to tell about it. There's actually real footage of this incident, and it remains one of the most unbelievable survival stories in military history. The human body is remarkably resilient, but it is also remarkably fragile. Sometimes a 24-story window decides your fate. Sometimes it's a pickle. Sometimes it's a dead man's tooth. And sometimes, somehow, a jet engine decides to let you go.